Hey, what's going on, guys? Salted Neos here, and we're doing something that I was intending to do for a while, and, well, I figured I finally have enough things in mind to do for it, so we're going to go for it. So what this is, again, a little bit different. This is basically a list of 10, I want to say 10 clusters of cards, because a lot of them are engines, that any sort of Neos player should absolutely be made aware of. I do look at other profiles from time to time to look for some ideas, and I've noticed a lot of the same sort of build with, mostly archetype cards. So these are 10 cards that are 10 clusters of cards that are outside the archetype that I think any player of the deck should be aware of. I'm putting an asterisk on that because one of the cards is technically a hero card, but for the contact fusion builds that are going around, I can't see why they're not running this because it's literally one of the best. It's important to be running if you're running Neo-Space because it makes that card actually worth running. So we're going to start off with, I think, is the absolute most important card any player of Neo should be made aware of, and it's Keeper of Dragon Magic. So when this card is normal or special summoned, you discard a card, and you search a polymerization or fusion spell, which is already a huge deal because it's basically the Predaplants, which we're going to get to. It's the Predaplants, except, you don't have to run Darlingtonia Cobra as another Garnet for your contact fusion-based builds. And the other thing this thing does is, if it's summoned after a Neos is already in the grave, you can reveal any card that lists a specific material on a fusion monster, and then summon one of its listed materials. So you can reveal any fusion monster that uses Neos and revive Neos, or in the contact fusion builds, you can revive the Neo-Spacians that uses contact material. You're locked into fusions the turn you do either effect, but a lot of the decks that would benefit from this are running fusion deployment and next. So there's literally no reason not to be running this because it just gets Neos fusion and makes one of them live. And now another one for you contact fusion builds that I also noticed. This one's kind of new and complicated, so I understand this one a lot more than Keeper. But that actually is Small World. Why is Small World so important? Well, anyone who knows this card, who's read this card, knows it basically requires a spreadsheet, where you can only have one thing in common amongst the monsters you use. Here's the deal. So, let's just go over the neo-spacians real quick. Just put Small World up here, I guess. So, let's look at Hummingbird. Okay. A winged beast, wind, level 3, with 800, 600 for stats. Okay, that's cool. Glomas. It's a light plant with level 3, 300, 900. Okay, so the only thing in common between these two is the level. Cool, right? Dark Panther. Beast. Level 3 dark, 500, 1000. Only level in common. Flare Scarab. Same thing, just the levels in common. Grand Mole. Only level. Aqua Dolphin. Only level. That's huge. So that means every Neo-Spacian with Small World can search basically any other Neo-Spacian, or for that matter, almost any other monster in the entire game. We're going to get an example here. Connector, right? If you open any Neo-Spacian, these three right here can all be the second bridge card to lead to Connector. Dolphin's a warrior with nothing else in common with it. Glomas is a plant with nothing else in common with it. Air Hummingbird is the same attack and nothing else in common with it, because Connector's level 4. Which means Small World turns any Neo-Spacian into Connector. And let's see. Keeper of Dragon Magic here. Any Neo-Spacian you bridge in the Dark Panther, you now have Keeper. And you can do that with a lot of other cards. Small World is one of the most important cards to be aware of in Neos as well if you're running Neo-Spacians. Which I know that sounds weird, but most of my builds don't. So we're going to get to the ones I think a lot of people are aware of. And that is these three Predaplants, which I don't need to say much about. Too much, anyway, because this searches Neos Fusion if it's summoned off of this. And Verte, using 2 monsters, and then accesses Neos Fusion. I don't need to say too much about them. We're going to come back to them. I think most people are aware of the Predaplants. Outside of some specific instances, which I'm going to get to, I think Keeper's generally better for not having to brick on this, but it's still good to be aware of these cards, in case you still want more copies of Neos Fusion, or you want link material while searching in Neos Fusion. Or, Verte Anaconda is just something to end on. So, now, a lot of decks I'm seeing for this archetype run Isolde. That's cool, right? I mean, Isolde searches a warrior on Link. You don't need much else than that, right? Well, here's the thing about Isolde. Its second effect sends an equip spell to summon a warrior. Okay, well, there's no low-level warriors, and my deck's bricky enough as it is. Well, there's a low-level warrior I think you want to be aware of for Isolde, and its name is Noble Knight Renaud. So it's a level 1 Fire Warrior effect monster with 500, 200, and, well, you're never going to control a Fire Warrior unless you're running Flare Neos, which, I don't know, some people do. I don't think it's worth it. That's not the important part. And if it's special summoned at all, it regrabs an equip spell or Fire Warrior from the graveyard. Now, the one I usually run it with is Living Fossil because it just gets another material out. However, this is going to lead into another card that I think a lot of Neos players are sleeping on. And, well, this is the asterisk from before, because the hero card is actually Favorite Hero. So, Renaud can grab this off if you use Isolde. So if you have Neos Fusion afterward, cool, you get Neo Space when a battle phase starts. Going second. Favorite Hero is an equip spell that when equipped to it can only equip to a 5 or higher hero, so any Neos Fusion monster, or Neos. If you have a card in the field zone, it gains its defense as attack stat, and your opponent can't target it with card effects. At the start of any battle phase, you can activate any one field spell directly from the deck. Well, I don't like Neospace, as anyone who watched most of my profiles knows. However, for the people running Neospace, I don't think there's a reason not to be running Favorite Hero. If you're running Isolde, sure, run one of each of these. If you're not running Isolde, run 3 Favorite Hero. It's absolutely worth it. And this also gives you a second attack by sending the Favorite Hero too, which also opens up OTKs. It's one of the coolest cards. It's one of the best reasons to run Neospace, in my opinion. Okay, so we're going to go back to Small World here. So, since you can already get to most of your deck through Small World anyway, since you should be running Small World, there's also more cards to be aware of. Namely, Speedroid Terratop. So if you control no monsters, you can special summon it from the hand, and then when it's normal or special summoned, you add this specific Speedroid because it summons itself. Okay, that's cool. You get 2 monsters, but they don't really help me get to my goal of Contact Fusion. Well, that's not really what they're there for in this instance. What they're there for is an Xyz monster I think you should be aware of. They're here for number 75, Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. So if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can detach 2 to change the effects to both players drawing a card, which gets you around most hand traps except Impermanence, which is going to be relevant for things like normal summoning a Connector afterward, or, stuff like that. You don't search this unless you already have Connector, or in some cases Joker's Knight in my Cocoon Party list, but that's not what this is about. This is just to have a second option to make it so you're safe to play through the rest of the game. Very crucial to be aware of. And we're going to get back to the Predaplants, like I said we were going to now. So, there's a Link monster I think is very good to make off the Predaplants, and it is Cherubini. So Cherubini requires 2 level 3s, so the 2 Predaplants. And whatever it's going to, you can destroy by card effects, and once per turn as cost, you can send a level 3 from the deck to the grave. Contact Gate, that helps you people playing that. I also don't agree with that card, but that's not here or there. However, you can go further than just sending a neo-spacian to the graveyard. You can also set up the Phantom Knight engine by sending Ancient Cloak. So Ancient Cloak, when it's in the graves, you can banish it, add a The Phantom Knights card from your deck to your hand. So the ones you'd be running in this instance are Silent Boots and Shade Brigandine. Normally you'd add Shade Brigandine. So then you would link the Cherubini and the Shade Brigandine that you summon for Rusty. And then Rusty will send the Silent Boots to the grave to add a Fog Blade to your hand. It's to set it. And then the Silent Boots can banish and get another Fog Blade. So you'd have 2 Fog Blades in addition to all this. That's huge because that makes you have that gives you more field presence if you're using the Predaplants anyway. I get it might be a bit bricky for some people, but back in my early trap lists, I play this a lot, and in Cocoon Party, I still play this because I'm running mostly level 3s. But it's good to be aware of because you get 2 negations on board, which is always nice, right? So we're gonna get very far away from the casual lists now because this is more related to my recent trap lists. So people notice I've been running Mystic Mine because, you're basically just sitting on Rainbow Neos in that list, and that's relevant because if you're just getting rid of all their back row, you can just attack over things they left an attack and just get game that way because Rainbow's huge. It's just good control, basically. And then there's two cards left, which is a cluster. There's one more Predaplant, actually. So Chimerafflesia is a cool Predaplant monster. So when it's sent to the graveyard during the next standby phase, you get to search a fusion spell. Neos Fusion. Okay, that's cool, but how are you getting it to the graveyard? There's not a lot of cards that do that very generically, and a lot of them are kind of awkward. Well, this one's kind of awkward, but it's also nice for the trap lists. So again, this is only good for the trap lists, but it's another Predaplant. The card you want is Dogmatika Punishment, which a lot of other decks have been running lately. In Trap Neos, you can afford to wait the turn that you lose from using this to get your fusion. But what it would do is it also pops something while getting the Neos fusion for not next turn, but the following turn from that. Probably not. I kind of wish there was a better option to get Chimera into the grave, but you can search Punishment through Trap Trick, and that usually gets it online pretty well. So, if you have any more cards that you think other Neos players should be aware of, or even myself, leave them in the comments. Try and give your reasoning on them though, because a lot of the time I would end up glossing over it otherwise, because I just don't understand why you want it there. I know I'm kind of known for I feel like I'm probably known for being a bit dismissive of some cards, like Neos Kluger. I kind of realize is still not great, but not as bad as I thought it was. Stuff like that. If you think there's anything like that, let me know below. Hope you enjoy what is now the 100 sub special, because this is all I can really do right now. I'm still in the middle of moving. Hopefully we'll have something else up soon. Again, it might not be till next year at this point, but I kind of figured I should get something up. Hope you enjoy your new year. Happy holidays. Thank you for watching.